What it do, my guys, and welcome to the What's Poppin' podcast, the show with explosive questions and even more explosive guests. From Resident Diesel, I'm Timmy D, joined by the boys, Will from WMXX, and joined by Mr. Zach Finch. What's going on? Tell us a little bit about yourself, real quick.
Hey, so my name is Zach Finch. For anybody who knows and anybody who doesn't know, I run a small little Twitch stream called Cappy Plays, using my tag Cappy. Literally, if you find me on anything, it's typically Cappy is law, Cappy is life, and Cappy is everything. So
I
Nice and
like it.
consistent.
yeah, I mean, I've had the nickname since I was in college, so I just use it.
Zach, welcome to the show. How are you with writing the writings of movies? How are you with that?
So I mean, writing movies is always fun. I really enjoy it, but with the whole writing strike going on, it's kind of
Of
hard.
course.
Yeah.
Um, and then on top of that, I have like all these friends in the industry right now that are outside of jobs. I just got a message today from a friend of mine who moved out to LA right after we graduated college
Right.
and working in movies, television shows. Her most recent credit that a lot of you guys might know is Succession. Um,
Right.
and
Oh,
she,
what?
yeah, and
Really?
she's not doing well right now.
Oh, that really
Uh,
sucks. I'm sorry.
and because she's like she's the first AC, so the first camera operator.
Right.
So basically, her job is pulling focus for the camera while the camera operator is running it and making sure that everything is like in screen and
Gucci.
ready to go.
Right.
Um, so, but she's been doing that for about gosh, I've been out of college for like what 10 years almost. But she's been doing it that whole time, and honestly, she sent me a message. She's like, "Hey, so would you mind if I came and visited? Because I have nothing else to do right now." And I'm like, "That's fine. Yeah,
Why not? You have some free time.
yeah, I'm telling you."
Right.
Because I mean, I agree with the strike going on currently. I think it's for the best. It's just a lot of people see it as it's a bunch of people who get paid a lot of money complaining about not making enough money. But what they don't
And that's
understand,
so
but
not the case.
that's so not the case. And then there's also the people in the strike that are not making any money practically. Because you got to
Right.
think background actors, all this stuff. And then with like AI, you have this whole program where if you go onto a set, they've started implementing this thing where you have to sign, of course, your normal contract. But now part of your contract includes AI generated or AI basically being able to take your image, and now the studio owns your image.
Mhm.
Right.
So they don't have to call you anymore.
Yeah.
You don't have to show up anymore.
They
They
could
can
just
just take
generate
you, and they can put you on Sharknado 4 and then take you and put you on the Meg.
Right.
Yes.
And I thought about that too, because like I've been looking into that a little bit about the AI thing, being able to take extras, like just purely going AI for extras. The only way that makes sense to me, because it does make sense, financially, you
Oh,
save a lot of
financially, it
money.
makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense.
And then you just pay them royalties. Every time they use your face, you get a paycheck. That's it. And you still getting paid to not do shit. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
I mean, there's a way to do it. There's a way to market it. There's a way to get it to run the way they want it to. The issue is there's no communication.
Right.
There's a lot of back office deals going on. There's a lot of just scummy people doing scummy things.
Right.
But then you also have to think you have the whole AI thing going on with like AI writing. You have AI writing. You have the AI image, and you have the whole thing with what was that new MCU show? Anybody
Uh,
remember Secret Invasion?
oh,
Uh,
right.
yeah, the whole thing that the whole opening was AI generated, and it was all
Mhm.
AI generated, so
Right, I
nobody
heard
got
about that.
paid for it.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody got paid for the opening. It was all AI generated.
Oh, that's crazy.
So there's a lot going on with it, and it's getting really deep. It's getting really in the trenches. You have people like Tom Cruise. He's really trying to push people to go back to the theater. People
Yeah, I
to
love Tom Cruise.
go back into the cinema.
Him and James Cameron and
Barbenheimer.
Oppenheimer, yeah. Christopher Nolan.
Right.
Yes.
Because Christopher Nolan's he's so respected in the film industry because he's one of the only film directors who uses film still.
Yeah.
Because
He is.
It's so much more expensive to use film than it is to use.
And I
digital.
think doesn't, if I'm not mistaken, Tom Cruise in his productions, he wants to use film as well.
Yeah, he wants to stick with film. He wants to keep
Right.
using it.
It
And
looks
the
better.
reason, well, it looks better because it's how our eyes develop
See
images.
it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So digital, you have to do a lot of color correcting and some of that.
Yeah.
Post production for digital is actually twice the amount of time as it is for post production for digital.
Really?
But it's still cheaper because
Right.
you could shoot an entire day's work on film and it just be ruined.
Yeah. That's true.
The lens is open, the aperture opened up too much, so now the film is completely destroyed.
Right.
You put it into your bunker, and all of a sudden a fire happened. So congratulations, it's gone.
You lost it.
Right.
There's a lot of different things that can happen. It can even transferring it to the little. So whenever you transfer film, you transfer it to a small little tent kind of thing, and the person who is slicing it, putting it together, and like putting it in its container, its film container, they do that without looking at it. You put your hands into it, and you're doing it by hand.
Underneath,
Right.
like a
all by
black
hand.
curtain and under a bag or something, or not a bag, but like
Yeah,
under
it's
a
like,
cover.
yeah, it's like this little tent kind of thing or whatever with just armholes, and you just do it that way. And you're doing that all by hand. I had to do it in one of my film classes, and it was
crazy.
But
that's crazy.
It's even in that you can completely destroy the film because if the person accidentally does it wrong, it rips.
Boom. It's done.
Yes, a whole day's gone. I mean, when they first, I know I'm kind of going on a tangent right now, but when they first switched over from film to digital, there's an infamous thing that we learned about in school, which was Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. He went on a protest, quote unquote protest, while he was on a film set because he was so used to getting breaks. Like, oh, they got to change out the film. I'm going to go take a break. I'm going to go do a bathroom break. I'm going to do all this kind of stuff. They switch over to digital. His first digital movie, they just keep rolling. They just keep going. They're like, hey, let's go to the next thing. Let's do this. Let's do that.
You just fill out the storage.
So what he did as his quote unquote protest, he grabbed water bottles and he started peeing in them and leaving them all over the set. So so he would leave them in shots. He would leave them in all these different things. So that art department had to come in, take it out. He'd put it next to cater. He put it everywhere.
So
he'd make his own breaks.
Yeah. So he was like, oh, you're not gonna give me a bathroom break. I'm gonna go and protest. So
that's so awesome. Well, with that being said, it does sound like you know your shit when it comes to the film industry. So let us just hop right in. Will, what is the first question for us today?
Well, I mean, it's just with that kind of knowledge, like what is, like as a film student, what is like a favorite film of yours? I mean, myself personally, I'm big into Steven Spielberg, Jaws, Jurassic Park, stuff like that. Yeah. What's one of your favorite films?
So a lot of us started with Spielberg as kids because 90s kid, you have to start with Spielberg. He was the big blockbuster guy.
Never grew up out of it.
He's the guy who created the term blockbuster.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I would say Jurassic Park is definitely up there, but it got dethroned when I went into film school. I was a guy who I watched a lot of movies because my family's really big into movies. Like, you don't want to see us on trivia night, it's bad. Only time we get competitive is playing trivia stuff with movies. But I was in college. And my dad had taken me to go see Lord of the Rings when it was in theaters. And I was always kind of scared of it. I was always kind of bored by it. The pacing was slow for a kid who's like 7 or 8.
Right.
And so I was like out of it. And then I get into college and there's this group of guys who are like, hey, we're going to go see, they're showing over at the Alamo Draft House. They're doing an old school showing of like Lord of the Rings. You want to go see it? And I was like, I mean, there's beer at the Draft House, right? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll go. So I get there, we're drinking, and I remember not even finishing my drink because I forgot it was even there because I would just kept watching the screen.
Wow,
nice.
And it was because like I was thinking, I was like, this movie came out when I was 7, like specifically the Fellowship of the Ring.
Fellowship, yeah.
I was like, this came out when I was like 7.
Because I was like 10 when
It
it
still
came out.
holds up.
Huh.
Why? Why does it still hold up? And so I went home after that, and I sit down and I start doing all this research. I start looking at all these different things, interviews,
Right.
behind the scenes stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and the amount of effort that they put into these
Oh,
3
yeah.
movies has never been done before. To this day, has never been done.
You
before.
can tell by all their Academy Awards.
Yeah,
They-
they cleaned up.
Return of the King won every single Academy
Yeah,
Award.
I
that
know, right?
Every single one. If you go back and you actually listen to the announcer, he goes, "This is the 12th win for Fellowship or Return of the King," and everybody in the audience is just like, "Why am I here?"
Yeah, right.
Like,
they made an awesome movie. Shit.
yeah, and it's because like I said, the effects they hold up to this day. Smeagol is like
Yeah.
creepily
He
good,
still looks good.
even for
it's-
you thinking he's
yeah.
not there.
Right.
Like Andy Serkis is there in a onesie,
Right.
doing this stuff,
Just
like a
looking
little
at the
creepy
camera,
goblin.
like-
Yeah, but at the same time, you're like, it's weird that this seems so real. Like he seems like a real person.
Right.
But I would say honestly, the trilogy, I just kind of meld them all together. And I
Yeah,
said,
Lord of the Rings.
That's
period.
fair.
because
That-
the way
that's
the
how
way
I
they're made
view
is
it.
different.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how I view it. It's Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's not 3 movies and 3 movies. It's 2 movies. You know what I mean? You watch
And
the
now,
entire thing.
I'm that stupid person that like if you watch Lord of the Rings with, I'm like, hey, did you know? Hey, did
Uh-huh.
you know?
Right.
The guy who
And the
never shuts up during.
And the problem is there's so many hey, did you know moments. in
What
those movies.
is Rings of Power based on the Silmarillion?
So Rings of Power is based on the Silmarillion, yes. Kind of loosely.
A little bit loosely.
They took some creative liberties. It's okay. It's not groundbreaking. It's not something that I
Right.
sat down and I was like, I have
heard.
to watch
I
this.
heard. Yeah.
But when they said it was going to be like the second coming of Game of Thrones, I was like, okay, it better be. This is
Right.
Tolkien we're talking about.
Those are big shoes to fill.
Yeah, like Tolkien's the reason why I'm so big into narrative world building and why
Right.
like everything I watch, I'm like looking at everything I see.
Right.
And then it came out and I went, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This is very shallow.
Yeah.
Like just the surface of what
Peter Jackson would hit.
No, I mean, Peter Jackson's a great director.
Right.
When he has a script and something to follow.
Right.
The worst parts of the trilogy, the original trilogy, are the parts that he created to fill space. So there's parts that you'll sit there and you'll watch and you'll go, wait, so why is this side quest going on right now?
Right.
Oh, because they were trying to fill in some time because they had like 30 minutes they had to fill.
Who
like
was
Aragorn goes on a spirit journey all of a sudden?
Yeah. Who was the writer to Lord of the Rings?
To Lord of the Rings, they had 3 different writers. I can't remember who they were off the top of my head, to be honest.
It's amazing that you can get a group of writers together to come out with this gigantic thing.
Well, and all of that, the studio, Peter Jackson was not a big director at the time. He was not a household name.
No, he had done like maybe 3 movies before
and
that.
They were like really campy horror movies.
They were amazing, I'd say.
Oh, you love campy horror. I'm like that with you because I love Evil Dead, and that is as campy as it gets. But
yeah, I know, right?
and then you get into like Jason and all the Friday the 13th. But
funny that you say that. I'd say to answer your question, my favorite would likely be shit. I mean, it's hard. There's so many movies, but it's Wolf of Wall Street. And I'll tell you why too. Yeah. I'll tell you why, and it's not even that hard, you know, because it's a toss-up. For me, it's a toss-up between Wolf of Wall Street and Goodfellas. Now, if I'm going off of my personal, like, hey, this is truly my favorite movie, it's gonna be Wolf of Wall Street because it personally affected me in my future, you know. But if it's Goodfellas, it's because it is so damn fucking good. The pacing, the transitions, the writing, every little piece about that movie is absolutely Hollywood gold, like legendary stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Marty is not just one of the best directors of all time, but I mean, he has some of the best insights for his writers who write his movies, you know. And the fact that Nicholas Pileggi was an advisor, like screenplay writer for Goodfellas, that blows a lot of his other movies out of the water, other than The Wolf of Wall Street, where Jordan Belfort was actually the advisor for that movie. You know, so just seeing how Marty is with the way he directs blows me away. It's my kind of stuff. But it brings me to want to ask you another question, Mr. Zach. This is for everybody, right? So horror movies are at an all-time high. Ari Aster, Robert Eggers, and Alex Garland are just a few of the new kids on the block, right? Because we've already had John Carpenter, Wes Craven, and Clive Barker, who all directed and wrote their own movies, right? And big ones too, ones that really, really put a mark on the industry, you know. It brings me to wonder, what is the most impressive horror screenplay that you've ever seen? And to me, it's got to be, and this is a, you know, I'm going a little out here. Anthony de Blassi's Last Shift is the best one. Yes. And the remake Malum is just as good. But what is yours?
So if I'm talking about screenplays, and I hate to go here, but there is a so I love it because of how bad it is.
Yeah,
I hate to say that, but there's a movie called Axum.
Which one?
Axum.
Axum.
AXEM. It
Okay.
is probably the worst horror movie you will ever see.
There is no such thing.
It is probably the best guilty pleasure you will ever have. That's the best way to put it.
Tell us a little bit about it. Axum.
So Axum is the classic like horror movie. Like something's coming to get them. There's all this creepy and mysteries and all that. The issue is the sound design is terrible. These guys, it feels like they recorded everything on a iPhone 1. The cuts don't make any sense at all. They'll just be talking, and they're like, yeah, we should go to the drugstore. Yeah, I'll go with you. And then it's not them at the drugstore. It's them getting in their car. Like cut to them getting in their car. Cut to them driving. Then cut to them getting there without saying anything.
So bad.
Like they were just unnecessary.
So bad.
Unnecessary cut.
So bad.
And then when you get like the murders, you can tell that they didn't have the budget to really like show what's happening. So you get a bunch of the close up like early Jaws like person screaming. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay, all right now.
Right.
But the reason why I say screenplay is because a friend of mine actually he knows the guy who created Axel. And he had the screenplay, and he's the one who actually showed me the movie. And I was looking at the screenplay, I'm reading it, and I noticed there's some stuff in there that if they had used it really well, it would have been like gold, comedy-wise.
Yeah.
They cut out a lot, and the final draft is like a bunch of red marks on things, a bunch of like them like putting Sharpie and like highlighting things, and I'm like, this is the final draft, or this is like the rough draft? And he's like, no, this is the final draft.
Right.
Like, they were making it as they went, and they were like, okay, we're gonna change this, we're gonna change that. And so screenplay wise, I love it. The final copy of it, I'm like, this.
Wow. Right.
Give it to what was it, A24 Pictures next time, like, please.
Exactly. They might actually have something to do with it. You know what I mean? They might meld it into something good.
Exactly. But it's terrible. But I watch it every like Halloween now just because it's something to put on in the background and it makes me laugh.
Right. Will, what about you? What's the best horror screenplay that you've seen?
Horror screenplay. I'm not sure. I'd have to get back to you on that, because just like, I don't know. I'm not like, I couldn't think of something off the top of my head right now that would just.
Well, what's your favorite horror movie?
Horror movie. I don't know. I don't really have one, to be perfectly honest. Like, I love watching horror movies, but just like I couldn't say like one is like my favorite. I don't have one I'm dying on this hill. This one is mine.
So then my question to you would be, are you more of a slasher guy, paranormal guy?
Right.
Like, what is your favorite genre?
Monster movie. I mean, they're not particularly horror per se, but like
They are.
Predator, Alien. Well,
Yeah.
Ooh, I got you on Predator.
Yeah,
Predator's one of my
that's
top
horror.
films.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Which one? Which Predator?
The first one. Like, the
Yeah,
first one
Arnold
is
one.
perfect. That's a perfect movie. That movie has so much testosterone in it that women
Literally,
walk out of it with their legs wide open, like they're just like, bro. Like that movie, I knew I was in for a treat when all of a sudden he goes, dude, you're bleeding from your arm. I ain't got time to bleed.
I don't like, but you're bleeding.
You got time to duck.
This stuff will turn you into a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus.
Right, like so Will,
Ventura.
as far as monster movies go, okay, so you love monster movies. I know that you love the MonsterVerse from Universal, right?
Yes.
But let's talk about you're talking to me about like Dracula, Frankenstein, Predator, Alien, stuff like that. Which one of those stands out as the most memorable?
Again, I'd have to, unfortunately, just like he said, I'd have to go with Predator, because just like that movie, it's like it drills into your mind and it stays there, because it's just like it's perfect. Like, because that's the thing, I don't necessarily consider it a horror movie, even though the back half of it kind of is, but just like so many one-liners, action movie tropes, and testosterone, like he said. It's like it's an awesome and memorable movie, but just I don't particularly describe it as a horror movie.
Right. I'd even back off of that, because I would describe it as a horror movie. I think it does something that no other movie's really done, or at least that I've seen. And to anybody, yes, I still have movies I still haven't seen. I have a massive collection of movies, but that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
I watched Run Lola Run for the first time the other day. So, but the thing that it does that nothing else has done before is that it starts off, like you said, as an action movie. But then it sets it off as like super campy, super in your face. It is super 80s.
Yes.
And super
epitome.
Yeah. And then you get there.
Almost parody.
And you get to the end of the camp, like not the camp, but the village.
The hostage thing.
Yeah. You get to that, and all of a sudden the movie takes on a very different turn. The music changes. And that's the first subtle thing, is the music changes. It goes from this like rough and tough, to like really creepy, like what's out there, what are we seeing?
Right, very eerie, very what's the word that I'm looking for? But I know what you're saying. It's very eerie.
It's unsettling.
It's unsettling.
It's unsettling.
Unsettling.
Because like I feel like even as kids, it
the subtle drums you hear,
right.
It brings up that like childlike fear of the dark,
right?
Without it being in the dark, because it's the unknown. You're like, what is out there? What is this thing that's hunting them? And why are these guys who are shown to be like the toughest, the baddest of the bad, are all of a sudden scared? Yeah,
right. These dudes with biceps bigger than most men's heads are now fearful of their lives because something out there is watching them.
Yeah.
You know?
Billy, you're not scared of no man. There's something out there. There ain't no man.
There's something out there. You know, there's so many good moments in that, and I think Alien did it right, where they made it into two separate movies. You know, they had the horror in the first one, and the second one is all action.
Right.
But Predator again does something nothing else has ever done.
Yeah, I'd say Predator, the difference between Predator and Alien is the fact that I feel like Predator was more of a stalking movie. Alien was more of a being stalked movie, you know, because we got to see, we got to see through the eyes of Predator. Yeah, that's a stalking movie, you know, but we never saw through the eyes of Alien.
Well, because Predator is the hunters are becoming the hunted. Like, if I remember correctly, that was like the tagline. But the hunters are becoming the hunted. In Alien, it was these random people in space are now being hunted by something, and they don't know what it is. They have no idea what it is until the very end of the movie.
Right, exactly.
Like the cat knows what it is, but we can't speak cat.
right. Hey, get Nick Fury. But so moving on. Will, what's your next question? What you got for us?
Well, the one thing was, like, I know how earlier we were talking about the writers and the writers' strike. I not to belabor point, because I know previously on this podcast we've talked about the sequel trilogy of Star Wars.
Yes.
Do you think that it's a better idea to have a team when you're making a big project like that, or is it better to have one writer, one director, one vision go all the way through it? Because again, with Star Wars, we kind of saw how that turned out. You have 3 movies, 3 different directors. They don't know what each one is doing. That kind of didn't turn out well. But sometimes having a team of, brain trust can actually make a project better.
Right.
Yeah. I agree. I think especially bringing up the Disney thing, like they didn't know what they were doing. They had like this outline, this basic outline that they wanted to do, but every director and his team were able to change that a little bit, do what they wanted to do.
Ryan Johnson did it the best.
So I will say this: I think Ryan Johnson created one of the best sci-fi movies. He did not make one of the best Star Wars movies.
I'll give you that. I'll concede to that.
Yeah.
And I think it's because he literally made it to usurp everything that the internet had been saying for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
He had a set goal. He's talking about this. He had a set goal. And then the moment that they were like, well, I think that she's Palpatine's granddaughter, he goes, nope, we're changing that. She's nobody. And you know what? If they had stuck with that, I would have been okay. If they had stuck with that. But it's the fact that the last movie
tried to course correct.
Abrams tried to course correct everything, like the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
We find out that in the last movie, the Emperor, one of the most notorious people in all of Star Wars, freaking Palpatine, comes back.
Right.
Off
Somehow
screen.
the Emperor returned.
Yeah, off screen.
Right.
So to answer your question, like, and not to dance around it, having a team is better because you're able to bounce off ideas. You're able to get into a room. You're able to see, like, okay, you have this idea. I didn't even think about this.
Mm-hmm.
If we take this and we move it with that and we change that, the difference is, though, you need a person that is removed. And this is going to be like your script supervisor on a film set. You need to have a good script supervisor that's in every single thing and looking it over and going, okay, but this does not fit with the canon that you made in this.
Mm-hmm.
This changes that. And you need a third party to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think teams are better because you can make really good stuff. And if you look at a lot of movies nowadays, you have like 3 to 4 different writers.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you do not have a clear vision for what you were doing, stop. Go back to the drawing board. I don't care how much money you were losing changing things. You're probably going to gain more.
Right, because it'll be a better product.
Look at Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad had 3 different writers.
Yeah.
None of them had the same script.
Yeah.
So none of them had the same script because there was a final copy that went out. And for like this person's script, then this person's script, and this person's script. And they were like, okay, so we're going to change this, we're going to change that, we're going to change this. And you know what? That was after they had already shot the movie.
Yeah, right. And now they're messing with final product. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Now they're trying to change things in the edit that could have been so easily taken care of before they shot it.
Because Enchantress was not meant to be the villain.
No, she wasn't.
No.
Yeah, David Ayer had a way darker view of it.
Yeah, she was not supposed to be the villain at the end. And you can tell the scenes that were meant to be in it, and
100%.
And that's like the bar scene that people always say is like the best scene. That was in the original draft. The issue is it doesn't make sense in context to what happened before. Harley Quinn literally gets broken up with. The Joker dies, but then didn't die, but then it's all
survives a helicopter crash.
Survives a helicopter crash, and he was supposed to be in the movie more, but wasn't. And
poor Jared.
Yeah, Jared did a lot for that movie, and then
he did a good job.
They like cut him down to like 5 minutes, if that.
Yeah, he had if I'm not mistaken, he had 47 minutes of screen time.
He was supposed to be not the main villain, but he was supposed to be the sub villain.
Right, the one that comes back.
The hero, at the end, because he was actually in the trailer. You will see a scene of him like biting a grenade and throwing it, and half his face is burned. And that's
Right.
supposed to be at the very end. He's supposed to be the one that gets the final hit.
Right. And it
Yeah.
never happened because
No,
three
they
writers.
killed him off. So, but it's weird because that happens, and she's supposed to be sad and all this kind of stuff. And then right after that, they're like, "Let's go to a bar," and it's
right.
like,
It's like
the,
what?
the tone weirdly shifted. Like I don't.
I'd say for me, because I'm such a huge fan of Deadpool.
Yeah.
And seeing that Ryan writes with multiple people, you know, especially on Deadpool 3 coming up, like it's being written by awesome people, you know, and it's the three of them, and I think that's better for the writing process. Like you said, you can bounce ideas off of each other and be like, okay, well this really works with what we're going with. Maybe we should do this. Oh yeah, that sounds great, you know, instead of handing it off. I feel like there should be a collective genius, almost like people should be sitting at a desk together and writing instead of, you know, being individual and handing the script off like Suicide Squad, there being 3 different scripts. No, there shouldn't be 3 different scripts. You should be writing one script together, you know, just to answer that question.
I mean, even piggyback off of you, like talking about Deadpool 3, you have Hugh Jackman in that. Hugh Jackman is one of the best like producers, writer, directors out there, and you don't really think about it all that often because he's known for being an actor.
Right, but exactly.
What he did for The Greatest Showman, like love it or hate it, whether the controversy and all that kind of stuff, that movie, it was really well done. And he put more effort towards that than most studios do nowadays.
I haven't seen The Greatest Showman.
Oh.
I know. But I will say this. I've got a friend. She wants to show me the movie. We're going to watch the movie, and it's coming up soon. So apparently she was ranting and raving about The Greatest Showman, and I guess I have to see it. So
I would say it's probably one of Hugh Jackman's greatest works. Like, honestly. Just from how he directed it.
With that said, thinking about Hugh Jackman and like his route and going that way, right? Thinking about a man of such talent. Let's talk about that, right? Just for a second, because I think people like Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, where you can wear multiple hats, not you're just doing production, you're a director, you're a fucking businessman, you're a writer.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, you know, like all that crap is so badass, and it brings me to think about like DC, Marvel, Dark Horse, stuff like that, you know, and the comic book world that we're all getting so involved in, you know, and that we're all now, the mainstream is going deep with it. We're now starting to realize like how deep these stories go. And I remember there was a guy who told me, man, oh no, I heard it somewhere where a guy said, cartoons can't go that deep. Bro, have you ever seen any of the 50 DC animated movies? They go fucking deep, bro.
They're better than the live action DC.
Dude, for real. I just watched, with that being said, I just watched Superman Red Sun. Ooh, boy. Ooh, that was a good one.
Where he's in Russia, or he landed in Russia instead of the US.
Yeah, and Batman put the bomb in his chest. And he was just like, I'd rather die than be fucking like under your regime. And boom, it was fucking disgusting. But between DC, Marvel, and Dark Horse, what specific film stands out as the most accurate adaptation to you? Because to me, it would have to be Spider-Man. Homecoming. Not maybe accurate, but maybe really, really on the nose for Peter Parker, you know, and during that time.
Okay, all right. You know, honestly, I was probably gonna say Spider-Man, and then I was like, well, the thing with Spider-Man is since the very first Spider-Man movie came out, they've been picking and plucking and taking all these different things from all of them. Oh, I think I'm lagging. But yeah, they've been just like taking all these different things from all these different comics.
Right.
And like in Homecoming, I think they used like 3 different comics to write Homecoming story.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. Like no. But I think it actually builds to Marvel's credit.
Right.
But I think the issue with DC is a lot of their writers don't read that many of the comics. They always adapt the same 2-3 comics, and if you look them up, they're the most popular comics.
I know.
And And that's why you're like, wait, why does this Batman story feel the same as the one I watched before? There's a
It's the same.
They
That's
read the
why.
same comic.
Yeah.
They read the same comic. All they did was they changed Batman's age.
Right.
And
Or they just start with a different
So-
actor.
Right.
yeah,
Exact same story. Just like,
Uh,
okay, now we got to go through the Wayne's death again.
yeah. But like, and I think like with Guardians of the Galaxy, the studio made an excellent decision in not
Yeah.
using any of the previous known lore and just making
Yeah,
their
I
own original
know,
movie.
right? They if I'm not mistaken, what you're talking about is they're using the lore from like 2011, I think, moving forward, instead of everything that
Mhm.
came behind that because it was cringy. Like Star-Lord, cringy.
Yeah, they well, James Gunn took like the base notes.
Yeah.
And then he based the rest of the movie around his actual D&D campaign that he had done in the past.
That's so badass.
I didn't know that.
Drax is a barbarian. Star-Lord is a rogue. Gamora is a fighter, so on and so forth. Like
That's so badass.
he based it off of like one of their like I think it was like a one shot or something that he said.
Right.
Because him and his brother played D&D with Joe Manganiello and The Big Show.
I love Joe Manganiello.
And the guy who plays Shaggy, Matthew Lillard. And he was talking about that. But going back to the whole question, most faithful adaptation, I'm honestly going to give it to, trying to think of the name, Shazam, ironically
Really?
enough. Shazam was really accurate to the comics. Is part of the reason why it was one of the best DC movies that came out.
You think Shazam was one of the best DC movies?
Definitely, and the reason being is
Okay.
because of the comedy that it had, the fact that it was for everybody. Like,
Right.
it's dark, so it is dark. Like an entire boardroom of people get eaten.
I mean, I'm a big fan of DC, anyways.
Yeah, it was the fact that it took this whole idea of what DC was and it threw it on its head. It made fun of itself. Like
Right.
the speech that the evil guy is giving, and he's like, "I can't hear you.
Yeah.
We're too far apart. I can't hear you." So it's the fact that Zachary Levi is really good at playing a kid
So funny.
in an adult body. I don't understand
So
how he does
funny.
it, but
Yeah.
he does it. But the director of it stated that he took almost everything one for one from the comic that he read.
Interesting.
And because of that, it's the most faithful. And I think that's part of the reason why it was one of the best, but not the most successful, because people have had a bad taste for DC for a while.
It is what it is.
Unfortunately.
Now, if we're talking about like other than that, what the best one would be, it'd be The Suicide Squad by James Gunn.
Yes, that one was. He's so good at what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was great because it's a superhero film without being like a superhero film.
Right.
Like, there's not really
And
there's not really that many
stuff going on.
Superheroes or superhero powers or anything like that.
Right.
You have a giant alien basically fighting a bunch of bad guys.
Right. Exactly.
For the most part, have real powers, except for a dude who's a shark.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, let me take this moment to say, if you guys are enjoying this so far, then please follow us on our Facebook page, as well as our YouTube and our Spotify, where you can find more of the stuff someone like you wants to hear. Also, come say hi with us on our Discord, please. We've been telling you guys, come on, go say hi to us. It brings me to wonder, Zach. I wonder where DC's going with James Gunn. You know what I mean? It makes me really question, okay, well, he's such a good director. Will he be a good head of this board? You know what I mean? Because he can write, he can shoot film, but can he lead a team? Can he lead an entire franchise like Kevin Feige can?
You mean Feige?
Feige. Sorry, sorry, Kevin.
We know you're watching. We apologize.
Yeah. Kevin, I'm sorry about this. All right. But no. So as far as James Gunn, him and his brother, I think, are two of the best creative minds that we have in like comic books, and I think it's because they are nerds who grew up.
Yep.
And what they wanted to do was make comic book movies and nerdy movies, and guess what? That's what they're doing.
100%.
I think they're great creative directors. I don't know if they're great businessmen.
Right.
Um,
Right.
And I think the movies that come out will be I think they'll be interesting. I don't know if they'll be marketed the right way, and I don't know if the writing team will be completely up to snuff. But I think the issue we'll run into is if James Gunn uses the same writers that he always uses, because if he does, every movie's going to
Then
feel
every
like
movie's going to be amazing, or at least
yeah,
because
you'll get tired of it
you'll
after
get
a while
tired.
because you'll be
Yeah.
like it's the same quippy stuff going on.
Right.
And like that's an issue that some people have had where they're like, hey, this is like too Marvel quippy and all that kind of stuff. Movies were quippy before Marvel, but it's the fact that the majority of the population has seen Marvel movies.
Right. It's crazy the fact that that so many of us are on the same page with one type of movie. You know what I mean? Like the fact that MCU and even DCEU, to be honest, let me ask you a question. Have you seen The Flash?
Actually, no, I haven't. I've been
It was
meaning
amazing.
to,
It was
but
awesome.
I'm trying to see The Flash, Oppenheimer, Barbie, and the fact that I'm writing a bunch of reviews on some movies already. I'm like, okay, when am I making some time?
Right, because I see your. Can you tell us a little bit about that, just because the audience doesn't know about your reviews?
Yeah, so I write movie reviews. That's one of the things that I do on the side. I've been doing it since college, and it's just because I had a lot of friends who would always ask me, "Should I go see this movie? Should I go watch this? I don't want to waste money to go see something because I'm a college student and I don't have any money. Is it worth it?" And so I wrote my first review to basically get my friends to shut up, and then it just became fun. And then my teachers actually called one of my professors in college. He called me out, but because he saw one of my posts, and he was like, "I'm going to read this in front of the class." And he reads it. And it was about Interstellar because that was my very first review.
What a way to
and
start.
he goes, this was good. This is very good. I want to shout this out and like stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Thank you for that. I didn't even think about doing.
Yeah, I
this
love
as,
your
a
reviews,
career
dude.
Or anything.
Your reviews are great.
And he said the reason why he liked it is because I talk about. So for anybody who doesn't know, I talk about not just like what the general audience would like. I talk about what the general audience will notice, what they might not notice, and why they might not like it and might not know why they don't like it. Because going to film school, I can't turn my brain off. I'll watch a movie and I'll go, oh shit, they're using a kicker.
Right. The equipment they're using.
They use two f-stops and a scrim, bro. Like I can't stop. I can't stop. I love lighting. And so lighting, writing, all that kind of stuff, it just all comes together when you go to film school. And so now I watch movies and I can't help but analyze it. So I was like, I'm just going to put my thoughts out there. I'm going to write them all down. I'm going to figure out what I thought. And then after I started doing that, it became kind of therapeutic for me. And so I just started posting them because my friends were like, hey, I want to know about this movie. Hey, I want to know about this movie. So I was like, you know what?
Screw it.
Screw it. Hey, Dad. You know my dad, Tim. I was like, hey, Dad, can you loan me some money? I want to go to the movie theater like every day for this month. And he's like, yeah, sure, why not? So, and so I just started going to the movie theater because other people couldn't, and started like looking at the way that everything was made, doing my research, and trying to figure out like, is this movie worth going to see? And at the end of it all, though, every review I'm going to tell you, and as I tell everybody, your opinion is your opinion.
Right. Go see the movie.
You like something, you like something.
Right.
I'm just telling you if you care to know things.
If you care about the little details.
If you care about the little details, I'm going to tell you. But at the end of every single one of my reviews, I always say, go see it for yourself.
Yeah.
Every time.
Period.
But yeah, like that's how it all started. And I just enjoy doing it. Now, Flash, like I said, I plan to. But right now, I'm having 4 people hounding me. I say that as like I get a text message. 4 people hounding me to go see Oppenheimer and Barbie because of the whole stuff going on with Oppenheimer and Barbie. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go see him. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna talk about him, and I want to talk about Barbie as a film and not as like what people have turned it into as like this political meaning and stuff like that. I just want to talk about it as
the movement.
Yeah, because my whole thing is, yeah, you can go see a movie for like, I want to support this. I like this actor. I don't like this actor. You can do that.
Right.
People do it all the time. My mother does it. She doesn't like Matt Damon. I don't know why. She doesn't know why. She's like, I just don't like him.
Right.
And so I can't recommend Matt Damon movies to her, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't appreciate his stuff. Surprisingly, one of her favorite movies is Ford versus Ferrari, and he's in it.
Really?
And she's like, I don't.
Shelby.
Yeah, he's Shelby, and she loves Ford versus Ferrari. And I was like, Matt Damon's in that. She's like, yes, I read your review. I went into it fully knowing, and you know what? I actually think he's one of the best parts of the movie, and I don't like to say it or admit it.
That's funny. No, please go on.
Oh no! I was just letting air out of my chest.
But it brings me to wonder. You're very into film, and it makes me assume that you might know very, very far into the history of film, like the golden age, right? Like the 30s and the 20s. Makes me wonder, how would you describe how screenplay writing and just the entire movie making industry has changed from the 30s till now, from the 20s to the 20s, how has it changed in 100 years of filmmaking? Can you explain that?
I hate this question because it took me back to one of my classes that I wanted to forget. But also, I really like cinema history. It's one of my favorite pastimes.
Right.
It's like looking at all that kind of stuff. And to anybody who doesn't know, I've watched as far back as Nanook of the North, which is the very first documentary ever made. It is painful to watch. I don't recommend it, but it is the very first documentary. We had to watch it for class.
Oh, wow.
Jeez.
So I've watched everything from that. I watched we watched the very first, not a movie. It was, I can't even think of the word right now. But when he used to go and vaudeville or whatever.
Right.
I can't think of the word right now. But we watched the very first quote unquote movie in class. It's 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about how things have progressed and where I think it's going to go, since the beginning or whatever, movies have had a way of taking us to something that we've never seen before, or evoking an emotion that we didn't know we could have.
Right.
I'll be honest with you. I'm not a very emotional person, but there are movies that I cry every single time I watch, and I watch them specifically because I know I will cry.
Same. Yeah.
100%.
I know this movie is going to let me bring out emotions that I can't let out, so I'm going to watch it.
Right.
And for people who know about this movie, it's almost always Terminal. If you've never seen The Terminal, look, it's a great movie. It's Tom Hanks.
It's good. I have seen that movie. Yeah, that's a long time ago. I saw that shit.
I love that movie, and it's something about that ending. I'm just like, oh yes, it's a feel good movie.
My heart
just hits me in my heart, man. My old corazon.
Corazon.
Corazon. But
an actor.
But he's a great actor. He's got a lot.
Oh yeah, one of our best.
Yeah, and him talking, or not just him, but moving through cinema, watching how it's advanced, watching us going from black and white to color to where you can actually hear the motor in the camera while it's playing, to hearing ADR for the first time, and it's kind of bad.
Right.
And even watching stuff like foreign movies that came over to the West, and we're having to ADR over it, and it's not syncing up, it's not working out.
But it's beautiful.
And yet we love it. We love it. Why do you think Jackie Chan came over here? He was already famous before he came over here.
Right. It's kind of like Kung Pao,
Yeah.
You watch that movie and it's just the ADR is insane.
Exactly.
It was satire, of course, but
still, it was amazing.
That doesn't even go over to just live action film. Animated films are the same way. And to anybody who doesn't think animated films are art, they are 100%, because every single shot, every single movement, every single thing that you are seeing had to be created.
Exactly. It's the same
in
shit.
live action film, we're lucky. We have all this already around us.
Right.
Like we can build a set, we can go to the location, but guess what? The location's already made half the time if it's on location. So that's something that's interesting. But seeing us go from 2 minutes, or not even 2 minute, I think, but like these super short movies to where we are now, where we're at like 3-hour movies, 4-hour movies for some.
Zack Snyder.
Yeah, and we're doing all this like digital work. We're doing recoloring to make, for whatever reason, they want to recolor every single DCU movie and make it super dark.
So stupid.
I want to go get my flashlight and flash it on my TV to see if I can see.
Is that Superman?
Oh wait, that doesn't work. All right. But like moving through all that and seeing where we are, I think the best movie to show us where we're going is actually the new Avatar movie, The Way of Water. I think that honestly, I would honestly rank it up there pretty high on my own scale.
Really?
I think writing wise, it's great. It has more humor definitely than the first one. Like more family humor, as far as like, if you're at a certain age range, you get it when he says she's a little cranky. Like, you get it if you have a significant other. So there's moments like that, but also the emotional feel to it. It's a long movie, but the fact that almost all of it is CGI is breathtaking.
Mind-blowing. Yeah.
It's mind-blowing, especially when you're seeing this guy who is human, 100% human, next to all these CGI characters, and you can't tell. Like, if you didn't know, you wouldn't be able to tell.
Right.
And it was one of those things where I realized that this is where film is going when, and I think I put it in my review, is you sit there and you're watching this and you get to like hour 2 and you go, oh wait, this is CGI.
Right.
That's that's the moment that you're like, wait a minute, I'm watching a CGI movie. This isn't real. Those animals aren't real. This isn't
nothing is real.
Yeah, nothing is real. And that's the moment I was like, so now I'm just thinking about the fact that this is an animated movie essentially. It's been completely created by hand. Yeah, but they're putting people next to these things. They're putting actual man-made things that you can think about, that you can see. They're putting it next to these aliens, this alien world, and it blends in effortlessly.
So impressive.
We're a long way from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Exactly.
Hey,
great movie.
I love that movie.
I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm just saying, like, that's how far the technology has come, where clearly this is a cartoon, clearly this is a person. Are they on a set together, or is that CGI?
Right. Yeah, and I hate to bring it back to this because I'm a Lord of the Rings nerd, but even going back to Lord of the Rings and the fact that they used perception to show all the different sizes of these people. Like Sir Ian McKellen, I'm sorry, but he's not 6 feet tall, or 6 feet tall. And you have him next to Christopher Lee, who is 6'5".
Who's 6'5",
and they're the same height in the scene that they're walking together in. Or you have Sir Ian McKellen sitting at a table with Bilbo Baggins, and it looks like they're actually sitting together. But then if you look at how it's built, the table stops here and then continues all the way down this room and then ends there, so that they look like there's different sizes. And that's practical effects. We get some serious practical effects in that. And I think we're stepping away from practical effects.
I prefer.
But I think, and I think a lot of people prefer practical, and I think it's kind of similar to the whole film thing, where it's something tangible. We can touch it, we can see it, we can perceive it. So I think that certain things, certain movies have started to do this thing, or even TV shows, where there's practical mixed in with cutting edge CGI.
Yes. I love that you say that, because it brings it back to a topic that we had on another episode with another person that you might know, Justin Kerr.
No, not the Justin Kerr.
Justin Kerr. But we spoke about the difference between practical effects and CGI, and the big movie that stood out to us was The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing, 1986, I believe, 1989, maybe. And then of
Somewhere
course, yeah, and then 2011's The Thing by who the fuck knows, you know. And why do we not know that? Because he used CGI throughout the whole thing, and it just didn't. It didn't capture us, even though.
Again, I told you this that same episode, and I have to correct you here.
Oh yes,
They did a lot of practical effects. They had a team working on it, but just what they saw at the end, the studio scrapped it. They just said, "Hey,
that's right. Yeah,
all this work you did, we're just going to have some CGI team come in and do it all over."
some CGI monster.
Yeah,
right.
And just completely made some CGI mess that now everyone just completely glazed over and forgot about.
Right. Because you
versus
don't
the technical achievement that was the original The Thing.
You don't forget about that kind of shit. You know what I mean? But moving on to the next question, Will, what do you got for us?
The one thing is, like, I like to think of myself at least as a guitar player. So when I'm seeing other people play, I can tell when someone's just going willy 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 and trying to sound impressive versus what is actually complex to do on the instrument.
Yeah.
Right.
What is something that you like now that you have this knowledge of what is actually, what is complex? What is a scene that has impressed you with, like, since now you have all this knowledge from film school?
Oh, a specific scene?
Because I was thinking of in the original Jurassic Park, how Steven Spielberg used like different like shot compositions to show how the dinosaurs were so much bigger than the humans.
Yeah.
Versus in, I believe it was Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Second one?
Not the last one, the second one.
Okay.
They have another scene where, the big brontosaurus comes through like the center. No, not that one. Not that one. The happy one.
The happy one.
when the brontosaurus or whatever like comes walking through Main Street of the park, and it's a magical scene. But like you don't get that same like idea of scale from like the first movie.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that has to do with camera control and what is a realistic camera angle as opposed to what is a non-realistic camera angle.
Right.
Because our heads don't work on a 180, swivel.
Right.
We can't do a 360 with our head. And
says you.
Okay, well, maybe you. I don't know. Go ahead and try. But no, like I would say, like as far as like my favorite, or no, the question was like
the most impressive scene that you've seen.
Yeah, what's one that impressed you once you actually had that knowledge of what is an impressive scene?
Okay. And I'm gonna go back to Lord of the Rings again.
Hey, go for it, man.
Just because like I know so much about it and it hurts me. It haunts me. No, it's the fact that Lord of the Rings, there's one specific scene, and it was actually what actually made me appreciate them. I had just finished my first cinematography class, so I had just gone through lighting fixtures, all the different positions on a lighting set, and how you light a scene to tell mood, to tell feeling, everything, and also to tell the story. Because a lot of people don't think about it, but the light is actually what draws your eye to certain things. And there's one specific scene in Fellowship of the Ring that is, you see Gandalf on top of Gandalf. You see Gandalf on top of Saruman's tower. And then the shot is perfectly, like, it's on a set, it's real, it's completely practical.
Right.
Except for the butterfly. Butterfly is not practical.
Right.
They didn't actually bring in a butterfly wrangler.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't do that. I'm sorry to tell you that. Boom.
Dang.
But it's the fact that shot changes and it turns into a CGI shot of you going down the tower. Now, granted, it's dark, it's at night, so it looks good, even for early CGI. But then it changes into a shot of a mine where they're mining things. And the mine is completely a practical set. It is not a miniature. It is what they used to call a bigature on their sets, which was a set that people could walk around, but not a set that like it was still small. Like if you were walking around it, it was about the size of your foot.
Right.
But the way they shot it, they shot that, then they superimposed people into it that were walking around a set that they had built that was around the same size for certain parts of it. And then they bring it all the way around and they bring it back into an actual set with Christopher Lee talking, and then it goes back to CGI and then back into that. And all this whole time, the lighting does not change.
Right.
The lighting stays the same. It stays consistent. It brings that mood. The music is playing perfectly to give you this sense of depth of field and the sense of just like dread. And like something bad is happening. You feel that. You don't know exactly what's happening, but something bad is happening. And it's all of that all together, going from a practical shot to a digital shot to a superimposed shot to a miniature and all that, all in the same scene. And I literally sat there and I went, I want to do that. And then I tried to do it and I realized I didn't have the budget for
That's a lot of friggin' work.
a lot of work. And that's why it took them forever to do it. So,
You know, you saying that reminds me of a movie that was completely done on set, right? It wasn't, they didn't shoot in a specific Sleepy Hollow. You know, Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow was just fucking amazing, dude. You know, and the fact that like that you could put so much work into that. How much money do you think that they had to spend to just create that set? Like the haunted forest, the tree, like what the hell?
It's all a practical set. It's all completely like controlled. I just want to know how much they were paying the person that picked up the horse's droppings.
Right. Right. We'll pay you $50,000. Okay. Shit, I'll do it.
I'll do it.
To answer your question, Will, I'd say the most impressive scene that I've ever seen had to be, and not that I know a lot about how filming is done, you know, like I'm interested, but I'm not like Zach, you know,
I never went to school for it.
Right. I haven't delved deep into that, you know? And so one of the things that really draws me to this scene is the fact that I can see the expertise behind it all. But it brings me back to the Wolf of Wall Street, right? And it's the scene where Jordan Belfort is talking to his team the very first time around in the office when he's got the microphone, when the very first time they're pitching Steve Madden. That scene is just mind-blowing for the fact that Leonardo DiCaprio, you know what I mean? The way Martin Scorsese even just like, right. And the way Martin Scorsese was just controlling the way the tone felt in that entire scene, you know? And he takes you on, and it's funny being a salesman and like learning the straight line system, Jordan Belfort's selling system, you know, he uses something called pace lead, and which we use in sales. You know this. You know, we take them where they're at to where we want them to be. If they're at a 5, we take them to a 10, you know, and we amplify that emotion little by little as we talk to people. Okay. And in that moment of that scene, the way Scorsese just controls Leonardo DiCaprio's ability to take him from, hey, yeah, you know, there's a little secret I want to tell you. It's about these black boxes. They don't dial themselves, you know, pick up the phone and start dialing. And then he gets real into it. He's like, you want to deal with your fucking problems? Pick up the phone and start dialing. You know what I mean? And he's like yelling at you. And it makes you so excited. And then, of course, that second scene during the back half of the movie when he's got to leave Stratton Oakmont and he's just like, you know, guys, this is me taking no for an answer, you know, and you know, I love Stratton, but I gotta go, you know, but I ain't fucking leaving. And everybody's like, what? I'm not fucking leaving. What? I'm not fucking leaving. You know, it's like they all go crazy. It's beautiful. But
funny enough about that scene though, that is actually a beautifully shot scene by Scorsese, because the I'm leaving scene, the camera work by itself tells you the story, because it goes into his face, because it's a very emotional moment. It's a very deep
super
moment.
Emotional.
And the reason why it actually goes back out to the crowd, like cheering and stuff like that, it's not to show the crowd. What it's doing is it's showing that he's no longer leaving this world. He's existed in this world. That's why he's in the center of the frame while you're seeing it. You're seeing the back of his head, because this is his world. This is his worldview. This is everything to him.
Dude, you gave me
So
goosebumps.
you are in Jordan Belfort's POV right now, and it's telling you that whole story.
It is
all without saying a word.
Without saying a word, and you know, and even parts where they show the young associate, or she's not young, but like the associate that he was working with, and he was like, you know, like, what did I do for you? And he gets all choked up, and then she gets all choked up, and she's like, you wrote me a check for $25,000. I fucking love you, Jordan. You know, and she had that little small part, but the way Scorsese directed that, it was just so powerful. It made you feel like, holy shit. Like, she's going through it, he's going through it, everybody in this room is going through it because he took care of them, they took care of him. Oh my God. You know, it's like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But moving on to the next question, Zach, my friend, who takes home, and I only say this because the Academy Awards are just next year. They always are, you know. Who takes home the trophy for best screenplay in the last decade to you? Because to me, for screenplay, it would have to be Ari Aster. You know, Hereditary, Midsommar, the very, very deep and heavy movies that have very deep and heavy meanings. And he's such a creative director, so inventive with the way he directs and writes his movies. They're amazing. But who is it to you?
Honestly, you kind of swayed me on that a little bit. He's a master of his craft when it comes to like evoking emotion and tension in his writing.
It's insane.
And he's able to do this without a big budget, without like a lot going on in the background, and it's, for the most part, it's mostly just him doing it. He's got his creative team with him, of course, and they deserve all the praise that they can for like their proofreading and stuff like that.
Right.
But he's the one that comes up with these concepts on his own. And that's something that you don't see a lot of anymore.
Robert Eggers.
Yeah. I mean,
The Witch was pretty good. I like that. You know,
The Witch was good.
Lighthouse was good.
All right, Lighthouse was insane.
Phenomenal.
Lighthouse was insane. I did not want to watch it. I really didn't. And then a friend of mine who also does reviews, he messaged me and he goes, "Look, if you don't watch this movie, I'm not talking to you." I'm not talking to you anymore. Because I had gone on record, I was like, I'm not gonna watch it because it just doesn't look it appeal to me.
Right.
And the horror that he evokes in that, and it's not just like it's not
insanity.
It's not a body horror. It's psychological horror. It's something that all of us can deal with, and it's this whole idea of, could this happen to me?
Yeah,
it could,
and it could,
and I wouldn't even know it's happening.
Right.
That's the scary part of it. And
you think you're the normal one.
Exactly. And you have to give it to like the sound department and stuff like that for really like evoking that. Because the difference is us as the audience, we have a cue that he's going insane. The sound design, the camera work, all of that. But we ourselves, we don't have that.
Right.
In real life. We don't have a musical.
We can't hear the music.
Yeah, we can't hear the music. Like, but it's you know what? I agree with you. I really do. I think, and I did not think
Ari Aster is
he's just so good.
Yeah, he's just so fucking good, you know. And of course, you got those other guys like Robert Eggers and on, you know, like Andy Muschietti who wrote, I think, one of his he wrote one of his early films.
You know your stuff. All right.
Yeah, dude, I watch a lot of movies, man. Like, and that's why I wanted you on, you know. And it you know, I look at Ari Aster and I look at Robert Eggers and I look at all these new guys and I go, these are our Clive Barkers, you know, these are our next guys, our Wes Cravens who gave us these glorious, horrible films, you know. With that said, I do need to, right before you answer, Will, I do need to introduce everybody to Malachi from Reaper 6865. He has joined us in this conversation an hour and 9 minutes in. Buddy, what's up?
Sorry, keep forgetting that we do these on Fridays and Saturdays. I keep forgetting.
Every single week, but he keeps forgetting.
Doing this on Saturday.
Almost 10 weeks
first
in a
of all,
row.
we just started doing this. We just started doing these new days. So don't say 10 days in a row. We used to do it on
Hey,
Mondays.
that's true.
That's
That
what
is
we used to
true.
do. And I used to be
That
there
is
all the
true.
time.
In his defense,
Yeah.
every single person watching this, in his defense, he's right. But you know what? Punctuality is key, my friend. Will, what's your answer?
Unfortunately, I probably have more of a normie answer, and as you mentioned, like invoking emotion. When I think of that, I think of Quentin Tarantino because in the way he evokes suspense and actually, no, suspense is the right word. I don't know why I'm trying to think of something else to say there. I particularly think of Inglorious Bastards, particularly.
Ooh, that's a good
Good
one.
one.
In multiple scenes there, in the opening with Christoph Waltz character, in the
That
what's the
tension
other
is deep in that scene.
yes, and the other one in the like the pastry restaurant, where again with Christoph Waltz, where does he know who the girl is or not?
Right.
Or then in the bar when they're all playing that guessing game, it's just the motion you feel when like you're on the edge of your seat, you're biting your nails.
Right.
It's just like, oh God, what's going to happen here? And it's just that's what I think of when I think of invoking emotion. I go to that movie. It might be a fairly, normie answer. I obviously am not as much as a film buff as you guys, but that's what I think of.
So I'm gonna make a hot take real quick.
Okay.
I'm not a huge Quentin Tarantino fan.
Okay.
Now,
Not-
I respectfully
Inglourious Basterds-
disagree. But
Again, no, and that's fine. Inglorious Bastards, I is one of my top favorite movies. Don't get me wrong. I think Quentin Tarantino is very overhyped because in college I had a lot of people recommend movies to me by Quentin Tarantino, and I went
Quentin Tarantino.
that's his brother.
Cousin.
and I went, okay, you made this out to be like the greatest movie ever made, and I'm just not seeing it.
Huh.
Because I'm not a huge fan of Pulp Fiction. I know that's like a very hot take.
That is quite the take.
That's quite the take. And honestly, the reason being is because the story, it took me out of it when I see like John Travolta's character die, and then the next scene he's alive. And it took me out of it where I'm like, okay, so I kind of know the stakes already with this character. I don't really care too much about this character anymore. Okay. And that's a me thing. I completely say that's a me thing. There's a lot of people I know, a lot of my friends are huge Quentin Tarantino fans. But me,
I actually have something to say. I actually have something to say about that, and it relates to again my life in sales, right? So I read this book once called The 3-Minute Rule by Brant Pinvidig. Brant Pinvidig is, and I don't know if you know him, Zach, but he's a Hollywood pitch master. So he pitches some of the best shows that we've ever seen, like Bar Rescue, and just a crap ton of them, right? If you've seen it, he's pitched it. And it's funny, he writes in his book, he says, don't Tarantino your pitch. Don't Pulp Fiction your pitch, because if you're jumping around from what things do in the order of how it works and then how sure you are and how you can benefit your customer, they're not going to understand what the fuck you're talking about. Yeah. So don't Tarantino your pitch. So I can relate to that.
That's fair.
Yeah, that Tarantino
and the best way I can put that is like, don't make your pitch a tangent,
right?
Because with a tangent, you start here and then you go down here.
And you go down here. And then
back
up there.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't do that. And I think that's what it is for me. I'm like, I don't want to be following Tarantino's tangent about, well, this character, there's this cool thing that happened with them, but you didn't see it because they died. So let me talk about this real quick, and then comes back to it.
Right. So Malachi, who is taking home the trophy for in the last decade to you? Who's walking away with the Academy Award for best screenplay, or what movie at least?
All right, Justin, that's gonna be a hard one because there's so many actors that did such a great job in movie, screenplay. But not gonna lie, this might sound like I'm freaking just voting for this guy because of his color, but it's not. It's just more because of, he took the role for me when he played the Uncle Tom in Django. And you know who that is.
Samuel Jackson.
Good
old Sam.
All right.
Another Tarantino movie.
Because he
Would you
he
say
played that well.
would you say that that's the best screenplay that you, because I know that you love Django Unchained. Would you say that Quentin Tarantino's walking away with that award?
I could say so. I did like the I don't know if you ever watched the Hateful Eight, the other one that he made.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
supposed
That
to
was
be
more.
Django
Didn't see that one.
Unchained's sequel. It was supposed to be that, and then he just changed it.
mhm.
It was a good mystery movie. Nice
Yeah, it was.
mystery movie.
Who done it?
Never seen
Who
one
done it?
like
It was,
that.
it was
Yeah,
like a good, the
Yeah.
bad, and the ugly kind of movie.
Yeah.
yeah. It was a really good mystery movie. I never seen one like that before, and that kind of took it away right there. And that was also another Samuel Jackson, and then he played that
Yeah.
part really well too.
Yeah.
And
Tarantino finds actors he likes and he sticks with them.
I love
Yeah.
I love these new mystery movies like what you're saying, Malachi. How you get the Hateful Eight and it's just this banger of a whodunit, you know. But it brings me to think about Ryan Johnson again, you know, like
I was
Glass
actually
Onion
about
and
to
Knives
say,
Out.
yeah.
You know, like I like whodunit movies. Malachi, what would you say? What would you say between the Glass Onion, Knives Out, and then Hateful Eight? What do you think's a better whodunit between those two?
I never seen the Glass Onion. I seen Knives Out
Ooh,
and
Glass
stuff.
Onion's really good.
I just don't really remember Knives Out too much. It's been a long time
Chris
since I've seen
Evans,
that
his fine ass with a mustache.
Yeah.
Oh no, he didn't have a mustache
He
in
didn't.
that one.
No, he was
No,
clean
no,
shaven.
that was the Gray Man. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
clean shaven.
That's
Daniel
hilarious
Craig.
as fuck.
Yeah, Daniel Craig looking as
yeah.
good as possible. You know what I mean?
The one actor who's in every single Ryan Johnson movie.
Anna
I can't remember what his
Diarmez.
name is.
Oh right.
Oh yeah,
I know.
Anna Diarmez.
Right.
Trying to think of some of the parents'
don't really-
names.
Yeah, I don't really watch mystery
Oh,
movies like that.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes,
Jamie
that's
Lee
the one I was
Curtis was
thinking
in it.
of.
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
right.
yeah, duh. Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah.
Actually, there was a lot of great actors in
Oh,
there.
yeah, there
there's,
was.
There's a lot of really.
It was
good
a
actors.
stacked cast there.
Yeah.
I honestly though think I think Glass Onion was actually better.
Me too. I thought it was better. I thought one, David Bautista added a lot to that movie, in my opinion. Like he added some of the best scenes. Like when he was at the pool and he shot up, he's like, "Oh, never without it," like that.
What Ryan Johnson does really well is in Knives Out, at least, is he tells you what you think you're supposed to know,
right,
and so it doesn't become a who done it. It turns into a how does she get away with it.
right,
And then at the very end, he brings it all back to, oh wait, it was a whodunit.
right.
Oh, wait, what?
Oh shit!
But
I'm here now.
The framing in that with like the scenes with the knives all pointing at
Mhm.
people who are
good.
currently on trial. So it's like
good.
the writer himself is actually like pointing the
Yeah.
knives at his family about who killed him. That was something interesting. But with Glass Onion, it was legitimately a whodunit until like the second half. And then from the second half onwards, you're like, oh shit, okay.
Right,
Wait, so they've known this whole time. They're just messing with this dude. I gotta see how this ends.
right. It like the little details that you leave out, because that's real life. You know what I mean? You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And then like once you do know it, you're like, that's insane. Will, what is the next question?
Actually, this is my last question. We were talking earlier about how like lighting affects mood because like how it draws your eye to it. When you're writing characters, what are like subtle ways that you could make someone more likable, more intimidating? What are some ways you can affect a character without saying this guy's a bad guy, this guy's a good guy? What are some little subtle ways you can imply someone has different motives?
Okay, so the first movie I'm going to bring up, I'm going to answer this in two ways. First movie I'm going to bring up as an example is if you've ever seen Seven. Seven is a movie that does all of its characterization in the art direction and the lighting. You understand who these people are, even though you never met them. You don't know anything about their lives. They're already dead by the time we find them. But we already know everything we need to know about this person.
Right.
We just from the way their apartment is, the way their house is, the lighting in this room is green. It's green to invoke that he was envious, that there was something to this person that brought out this feeling. But also when you go into like the gluttony, the guy who is gluttony, because
Right.
in 7 he's killing everybody
Eating
based
the
on this.
spaghetti.
Right.
Yeah. But with that, they subvert that with like it's very brown. They're using a lot of brown tones. They're using a lot of really dark tones. And the reason they're doing this is because it makes you uncomfortable. It makes you unsettled.
Right.
It does all
Unsettling.
that. Yeah. And in every single case, every single murder, the lighting is slightly different, slightly stronger, because like it'll be darker with a higher contrast going on in this room. But then they go into this room where they're having a conversation, and all of a sudden Morgan Freeman's face is not in shadow at all because he's fully lit, because he himself is a beacon of hope. He is a good person. But everybody else that's in that room cleaning up the murder, they're the only people who have shadows on their faces, because we don't know who they are. We don't know their motives. But as far as like other ways to do that, you have framing. So framing is super important in movies. If you have a low angle, all of a sudden people interpret that as this person on screen has power. They're more powerful. They are in control. I am not in control, or whoever is opposite of them, because you're making the viewer think about, okay, if I meet a super tall person, how, they make me feel small, and you're making the viewer feel small in that moment. But then you also have one of my favorite movies. It's actually Glass Onion, and in that the villain, I can't remember his name, but played by Edward Norton.
Edward Norton, yeah. Damn, what was his name? It was such a basic ass name.
I can't remember what it is, but
damn it.
There's a scene in this before you know really anything, where half of his face is illuminated in light, and the other half of the face is illuminated in darkness. And this is to show the viewers that we don't know.
Hiding something.
We don't know if he's good, if he's bad, but there's something about him that he's not showing. He's not showing his full character. There's a mask there.
Right. It's such an artistic way to show people, like, you don't know this guy.
Exactly.
You might see him, but you don't see through him. You know.
And the thing is, if you are ever watching a movie, if you're ever watching a professionally made movie, I'm gonna say you're watching a professionally made movie. Every lighting choice is a decision that was made.
Yes.
So everything that you see on that person's face is important.
Deliberate.
Yes. If you're ever seeing a scene where like a person is sitting at their computer and their kids are running in the background, their kids are probably out of focus. If their kids are not out of focus, they're in focus, then we are supposed to pay attention to that. Right. Something's going to happen. Like they're going to trip over. It could be something small. It could be something big, but it's to draw your eye. Everything in film is meant to draw your eye, draw your attention. There
is no accidents.
No, we don't think. Well, there are sometimes.
Well,
there's also happy accidents.
Look at Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Let the shit go.
There are also happy accidents, but like the thing about filmmaking is everything that you put on the screen, we don't think you're dumb. We don't think that you can't get it on your own, but it's show don't tell.
Right.
That's the whole basis of good filmmaking and good television work is show don't tell.
Right.
Because you can tell a person who it is. You like in the case of a whodunit. In the case of like he would say with the Hateful Eight.
Right.
You could just straight up show like, okay, these are the characters, these are who they are, we're just gonna go with that. Or you can show them who they are without anybody saying anything.
Right.
And that speaks more volumes because it allows the viewer to make the connection themselves. You're playing a game. That's why you're engaged in the movie.
Right.
That's why movies are fun, is because it doesn't tell you everything. You're actively watching the movie. You're actively picking it apart. You're actively finding things.
Right. To me,
movies are interactive. That's my
movies are interactive.
Yes.
And if it was me, my answer would probably lie with something like The Conjuring. Okay, like how the lighting can affect certain amounts of fear, like, and then of course like you said, like everything is deliberate. you know. And the fact that James Wan is just such a master of his craft in horror, you know. I don't know why he's going towards this action superhero shit, but he's so fucking good at horror, you know. Like,
I can tell you why. The money's better.
yeah, I know, right?
The
But
money's
At
a
the
lot
end of the
better.
day, gotta get the bag.
Right,
Or-
with $1 billion
As much as
Aquaman.
you hate to hear it, Tim,
I know.
horror movies are the cheapest movies to make.
Oh!
That's why so many come out in a year. Is they're the cheapest movies to make.
But it brings me to and one, you're right. Two, whatever. Okay, fucking. I just love the way in The Conjuring, like the way they paint the characters. Like let's put The Conjuring 2 into perspective and think about The Nun, right? Let's not think about The Nun the movie, but let's think about The Conjuring movie.
Yes, thank you.
Right. You're welcome. In The Conjuring, you know, the way they painted this nun when she falls asleep while she's reading her Bible, and she walks over to her daughter, and daughter points, she goes, "Who's that?" Like that, and you look at the end of the hall, and I get goosebumps just thinking about it. You know, you look at the end of the hall and you see the nun, and then you hear the noise, and she turns and she walks into the room. Nothing said, you know, and she's dark, and you can see her at the end of the hallway's light go into the room. Room's completely dark, you know. Turn around, boom, all the shutters close, and then her shadows just going over to the painting, and then the eyes of the painting come up, and then the hands, you know. There's these subtle things. Every single piece of that like scene is just terrifying, and it's all done through lighting. It's all done through, look how scary, look how dangerous this entity is. But it also makes me wonder, Malachi, what do you think is how do you like, well, how do you think
What's a nondescript
Yeah.
way you can get the vibe of a character?
Yeah,
There's many different ways. It all depends on the movie and stuff. Like I could say most people like mysterious characters that they don't figure out, you know what I'm saying? Like take Snake, for example, from Harry Potter. It took
Oh.
how many movies for people to figure out that he was the
Yeah.
good guy? He was
Right.
just sitting
Right.
next to close to the
But
guy.
then once you
I
figure
mean,
out that he was a good guy, you start picking apart his character throughout all the movies, and you realize
Right.
he was actually actively trying to help.
Right.
yeah,
He was literally
a
there to
bunch of
help.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
for
changes-
that, like
it-
a lot
it
of
changes
people
his
like
entire character.
completely.
But
That's
the-
like even in the TV, like even in TV shows, like the same way mysterious characters always get liked most because people don't know them, and they try to figure them out all the time. They try to piece them together to see if they're the enemy or the good guy. And then when they figure out they're the good guy, they're like, "Oh man, damn it! I thought he was the asshole." Oh, and then they start liking him.
so I've only got one last question for us, right? The and my last question, it's all based on, we're getting a lot of remakes, right? I mean, we are, you know, this is the
Yes,
age of remakes.
we are.
Let's go ahead and remake it. That's what everybody's saying, right? And it's
Yep.
like, God damn it, when are we gonna end with this? But then you look at it and you're like, you know what? The Thing wasn't that bad, you know. Sure, the CGI was bad, but The Thing wasn't that bad. It was a decent remake-ish
If you say so.
prequel. Right. but also it acted as a prequel. So it was not only a remake because it shared the same name, The Thing, you know, but then it acted as a prequel. And it set it up for the events of The Thing that we saw in the 1980s. Amazing, you know, no matter what you say about your CGI alien. With that being said, what do you think, this is to everybody, what do you think the best remake screenplay has ever been? And now for me, it's gotta be now let's see, there's so many remakes out there.
I actually already have my answer.
What's your answer?
And you guys might think I'm like crazy for this, but I think the best remake that they've done as far as screenplay goes is Get Smart.
Yeah, that was pretty fucking good.
And
That
the
was a
reason being is
funny-
because the TV show by itself is meh. It was good for
Yeah,
its
right.
time, but it didn't really age well.
Right.
And it had become something where it was no longer a household name when they decided that they're going to make this movie with Steve Carell and you know, like Anne Hathaway, Bill Murray,
Right.
like The Rock, who was
Just
at
a
just at the time
beautiful
starting.
ensemble.
Yeah, and they were doing all this, and they made it into a comedy, and because before it was kind of serious, it had some comedic
Yeah.
elements to it, but it was kind of serious, and now it's a pure comedy. And for them to change that shift as a true remake, and
Right.
completely take the whole property, all the characters, change everything, and for it to actually come out better
Good.
than the TV show,
Right. Better.
I think that was great. I would say the worst one is probably 21 Jump Street or 22
wow.
Jump Street.
Wow.
Not 21 Jump Street, but 22 Jump Street.
Right, because
21 Jump Street was
21
good.
was pretty good.
Yeah, where they made it into a comedy instead of a serious show like it was. But as somebody who's seen the original TV show, the TV show's a little
Right.
better.
I think I know mine. And don't hate me, okay? But it's kind of on the same line as Get Smart. Mission Impossible. What Tom Cruise has done to Mission Impossible he's created something so awesome, so beautiful. You know what I mean? Like he's done something that is so act. Did we lose Zach? Zach, are you still with us?
Uh-oh.
Zach, you still with us? Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no! Oh!
Oh no!
There it goes! Oh my God! There's our guest. Our guest has had some technical difficulties.
Gone now.
Well then,
You know what? You could say
Yeah,
that
at
was
the very end.
that was
That's
gone.
great.
That was Gone with the Wind.
yeah. Well
Yes,
said.
it was.
Well, I guess that concludes our episode
Yeah.
of the What's Poppin' podcast.
Yes, it is.
Guys, everybody, Zach Finch, and if you don't remember his handles, please rewind to the beginning of this
Cappy.
episode. Right, Cappy everything, more or less. Go check him out. Go check him out. He does film reviews. He is working on a lot of projects. I know he's writing his own script. So guys, go check him out. I am so sorry that we just lost Zach.
Unfortunate.
But guys, this is where we are going to end this episode. So Mission Impossible, which is just like the What's Poppin' podcast. You know, it's an impossible mission that needs to get done. So guys, I love you. We love you. Keep watching What's Poppin'. Subscribe. Go ahead, like us, and do all the things that you got to do, like joining our Discord. Okay, join our Discord, please. We put the link out there, and go ahead and go ahead, share this with all your friends and family, because they need to know that we are talking. Because
They need to know what's popping.
Right, they need to know what's popping. So please go ahead and do that, guys. We love you. Peace.